Alphabet leads this AI borrowing boom that we've seen. Since the middle of 2025, they'd already done about $114 billion worth, but it was also split largely US denominated, but euro, Swiss franc, etc. So this $3.6 billion kangaroo bond action is kind of diversifying that funding. But you're exactly right. Like even a giant like Alphabet cannot fund capex from its own cash flows. And so it needs to go to the capital markets to do that across equity and debt. But the debt investor seems very willing, to support that offering.
What is this money for exactly? Is this data centers? Is this other things? Why do they need such huge amounts of money?
So it is for data centers, and it is in financial terms for capital expenditures, right? So if you look at Alphabet's capex for 26, it's approaching $200 billion. And the expectation is that it will be much bigger in 2027 and bigger still in 2028. Something that's really interesting is that capex doesn't just go up because you've got to build more stuff, right? It doesn't just go up because you're saying, okay, well, I did 10 data centers, now I need to do 20. It's also the cost environment. So like labor, construction, materials, power, that is also seeing some inflationary effects. And so the capex numbers also need to rise to meet that environment.
Ed, what are the companies saying about longer term capex as it relates to AI? I guess I'm concerned that this extraordinary high level of capex coming from many of these tech companies, this is the new normal. You don't just build your AI and then it's there forever, and your capex can go back down. It seems like this may be the new level of borrowing. Do the companies admit that, or do they say, no, this is kind of a one-time 5 or year or whatever?
There is a distinction probably then between what their capital expenditure intentions are and what their borrowing intentions are, right? And what Alphabet had said after the last tranche of dollar-denominated bonds is, look, we plan to borrow from the US debt market twice a year. And the signal that the market took from that very explicit explanation was, we've done twice this year. Are you now done? And so the BI thesis is really clear. There's a lot of demand out there, hundreds of billions of dollars of demand to support that borrowing. But there is also the psychological aspect of like, when do they hit pause and stop? And the 3.6 billion Aussie offering is very small on a dollar basis compared to the 25 billion they did in the $2 denominated ones. So it seems like they're kind of tapering off a bit.
So the bond market has been the subject of a lot of news this summer. Yields have been up a lot. Does this potentially affect government bond yields when there are all these bonds being issued by huge companies?
I might be convincing because of my British schoolboy accent and Welsh charm, but the bond market's not my forte. Technology is. So, I mean, the one thing I would say is that you can look at some of the post-issuance pricing action of those technology bonds and corporate bonds and say, in some cases, SpaceX, the most notable, that those underperformed and trailed away. And the big pitch is the premium over treasuries, right, in the first place. That was partly what some of the appetite was driven by. But yeah, I ain't a fixed income guy. I'll punt it back to you.
So, Ed, real quick, Anthropic, saw some Bloomberg reporting here. $11.45 billion in revenue in the second quarter, 14-fold increase. What is going on there?
Yeah, I mean, that's real revenue, right? They're prelim numbers, but that's data presented to prospective investors in a document that Bloomberg has seen, which would indicate they're having these meetings with prospective investors ahead of an IPO or as part of the process. The other data point is that they had adjusted positive operating income. And if you look at some of the AI-linked stocks that are moving today, it's probably not just the idea that Anthropic's tracking towards an IPO, that it will happen, but also they're finding a way to do it without endless losses. Right, and lots of those names, Amazon, Alphabet, have direct investment exposure to Anthropic, but it kind of is validation of the AI trade right now.
Yep, absolutely. So, hey, real quick before we let you go, are we still expecting a Anthropic IPO this year?
October or the fall. The fall, as we've joked about in the last 2 weeks, is a wide window. But yes, that's our understanding.